Great. Hi, Bill.
Al Horford signed this big contract, and I'm sure that a lot of people out there expect him to lead the team to the promised land. What are the realistic expectations for Al?
Well, I think the biggest thing is Al's got to learn the way that we're going to try to play on offense and defense. And one of the things that Al's always done is he's added what he does to help his team wins. So we're not asking Al to be anything more than him. You know, he's a good fit for how we play on offense. He's a good fit for how we play on defense. He's a professional. You know, he has a routine. He works hard at his craft, and he's a guy that guys can follow by example. And so I think that, you know, it's unfair to ask Al to be anything more than who he is. And so we're looking forward to having him here because we think he's a special fit for us on and off the court.
How important is it these first week or two of camp to kind of get everybody on the same page?
Yeah.
So many different.
Yeah, it's important. The way that you start off training camp's really important because you only get so many practice days after this month. And so, you know, each day is very valuable to make sure that you're getting in what you need to get in, you're finding lineups and groups that work best, and ultimately you're getting a chance to learn to compete together and grow together. And so there's a lot of things that, you know, you want to like build Rome in a day and do it all at 10 a.m. tomorrow morning, but it takes time. And, you know, the goal and my goal is to pace us appropriately, but to start off with throwing quite a bit at them right out of the gate.
Brad, you guys go back to the second, third season.
Yeah, I mean, obviously we've got probably more continuity back. Maybe not. Maybe last year we had a little bit more, but I think the bottom line is ever since the All-Star break of 15, we've had a pretty good stable group and a lot of continuity within that group. And certainly there have been changes here and there, but I think that having people that understand what you're trying to accomplish, how practice works, how it flows, you know, what we're looking for in film sessions, how those things all work, you know, used to the training room, used to the strength and conditioning. I think all that stuff helps. And then being able to draw on that kind of corporate knowledge as you're playing games and you're tweaking things and changing things, I think is important. But, you know, hey, if you add new guys, you add new guys, and you got to figure out a way to get them up to speed as quickly as possible. But that certainly is expedited when you're talking about, you know, 30-year-olds and players like Al or Gerald Green or players like that.
Brad, given the complexity of the roster, do you expect to be competitive training camp when certain guys leave the roster spot and
I think every training camp that I've been in, it feels like we've had all of that. So I don't know that it's even any more competitive than another training camp. We better be a blue-collar team that competes at a high level. So whether we have all of those extra situations or not, it's all about, you know, becoming that together because that's who we have to be to have success. All along, Kelly would be reevaluated at the 5-month mark. The 5-month mark is October 15th, 16th, and then be given the next steps from there. He's going to do all non-contact drills, and he's been cleared to do that.
competing at a high level good enough? How much pressure do you feel to not just make the playoffs, not just make the final round, but to produce a championship team?
Yeah, see, I'm a basketball coach, so I don't really. I mean, I know. Certainly, I want to do my job as well as I can and make sure that we are improving every day and we're striving for that ultimate objective. We have a long way to go to be considering talking about any of that stuff. And to be quite frank, I think, you know, as I told our team real briefly before we walked out here, there's not a lot of room between finishing 10th and 2nd last year in the East. And ultimately, if you want to be the best, or if you want to be among those considered the best, there's a lot of hard work ahead, and it's day by day. I don't feel any more pressure from what ultimately happens than making sure that practice tomorrow is structured right.
You
Yeah. No. My expectations never change. It's all about getting better tomorrow and making sure we're as good as we can be. And that's a very simple, boring process, but it's the way that I go about it. And, I think that the results take care of themselves. Being better the next day. That's my perspective. I really don't because the one thing, I've been asked about last week, I got asked about a number of wins goal, or I got asked about a playoff goal or a playoff rounds goal, or whatever the case may be. Right when you define something as success and you reach it, if you don't go any further, you set the limit for your team. And I'm certainly not into setting ceilings. And I think that that's why you focus on what you can do, and you try to put your best foot forward, and you go into that next game thinking if you do that, you can win the game. And that's my job. I thought we got better, but I think we can do things, hopefully continue to improve. Again, to me, it's that continuum of striving to improve.
Along the lines of success, you guys can win 70 games, but if you don't come out of the first round, you're lining up where you have been the last 2 years. So how important is it to have success, not only regular season?
So again, you're talking about success in different terms than I think about that. And I know you have to talk about it, and ultimately I think it's easy to talk about it in terms of objective numbers. And I understand that. I understand the desire to write about it or argue about it or whatever the case may be, but it's not where I am. We have to work on getting good for practice tomorrow so we do it right, so that we can start to build to have a chance to even be in that discussion. I mean, at the end of the day, it's hard to make the playoffs, and it's hard to be good against the best teams. It's hard to be good against every team in this league. Every team is capable of playing exceptional basketball on a given night. That's why you have to prepare to do so as much as you can. I think that coaches, and I've said this when Pop said stuff, I think they're really nice when asked. I haven't taught any of those guys anything. I think the reality is that I really enjoy being around high achievers, people that strive for continuous growth and are always challenged to meet the next challenge. And I think that, whether it's in coaching or whether it's in business or whether it's in higher education, whatever the case may be, those type of people inspire me. And so I will, eat up whatever they're telling me. And I certainly appreciate Bill's willingness to open his doors to me and let me learn from him, as others that I've gotten a chance to be bettered by being around. Well, I think that's a big loss, and I think it's a big loss because of the way that he handled the ball, the big shots that he made late in the games, his positional versatility defensively, his everyday workman-like attitude in the gym. He just had a great way about him, and we're going to have to replace that. And the other thing that we're going to have to replace is his rebounding from the wing, which was critical for our team, and that's something that we did not do well as a team last year. We're going to have to do better if we want to be a better basketball team. So we'll see how it goes with who eventually gets those minutes, and it certainly is will add to, as Brian said, the competitive makeup of camp, because there are some minutes there for sure. Well, I think beyond the minimum level of talent, right, is the idea that they're very versatile defensively. They can play two different ways, right? They can play big, they can play small, they can play fast, they can protect the rim, they can do all those types of things defensively. And then offensively, speed and skill are huge right now, right? And because ultimately you're playing against smaller lineups a lot. If you have a great low post scorer, that's something that you want to take advantage of. But in a lot of circumstances, out of the 30 teams, a lot of people are really erring on the side of speed and skill. So you try to put yourself in position to take the best shots that you can get, and then hopefully you make enough of them to have success.
Brad, one more
I have no idea what his volume of three-pointers were, but I know that as this game continues to be stretched out, and you want to stretch the defense out and you want to make them cover more ground, that the three-pointer is a big part of that. And so, he really not only he kept up with the game, right? He made sure that he changed as the game changed, and ultimately really did a great job of making that transition look pretty easy. I think he was about 35% last year, maybe a step right around there, 34.7, somewhere around there. But he's got a chance to continue to grow that, because anytime you haven't shot from distance in the past, and you've always been a big, especially a big like he was at Florida, and then as early on in his year, you're used to playing in tighter spaces, you're used to playing with contact, and that is a difference. So you get more used to it as time goes on. So I've watched him shoot it in individual work, and he's a guy that can really shoot the basketball, and we'll need him to shoot. We'll want him to stretch the floor for us for sure. Well, I just don't think you can have enough skill and athleticism. And I think ultimately, anytime you're able to increase those things, that's a good thing. But that's something that we're going to continue to try to be able to fly around defensively and utilize our athleticism in that regard, and hopefully use our speed and our understanding of what constitutes a great possession to get great shots and hopefully knock them down on offense. Mm-hmm. Yeah, we've had a lot of discussions, from at an individual level. Have sat down as a team and discussed and talked about it, and I think the biggest thing is that we all really value the freedoms that we have and that we've been allotted, and we certainly support an individual's freedoms. And it's been great to engage in those discussions, and it's been really fun for me to hear about how excited our guys are about using their platforms to promote good things. And it makes it really, it's a really fun thing for me to talk one-on-one or in a small group of guys and listen to what they're thinking, and know that we live in a country where you're allowed to express your thoughts and your concerns. Yeah, I mean, I took the job like 6 days after KG was traded, so I don't think I've ever even met him other than maybe saying hi. So it's probably not fair for me to be the one that is asked about this, but I will say that people talk about him in high regard, whether it's the coaches that coached him, the players that played with him, everybody in the building that saw the discipline and the grit that he brought to the table on a daily basis. He couldn't be more highly spoken of. As a former Celtic, and certainly, was a huge part of that 17th banner.
Those protest issues that were just referenced earlier, they get a lot of play on talk radio and media. Do they affect play on the court?
Well, I think that there are things that are really important, right? And how you think as an individual and what you really want to stand up for is, again, something that we really support. And when we all get on the court and we're all playing a game, and sometimes we have to remind ourselves in all of this discussion that this is a game, but our job is to play as well interdependently as we can and connected. And so, our jobs starting tomorrow with regard to on the court preparation and team is to try to become the best team, most cohesive team that we can, recognizing that anytime you have a team with a staff and trainers and strength and conditioning and 19, 20 players on the rosters, you're all bringing your individual personalities to the table. And that's the beautiful part about team, is you bring everybody together for a common purpose. Yes? Yeah, you might go in with preconceived notions, but you're fair to let the game play itself out.
Leadership roles for Isaiah and Marcus. How would you characterize?
Everybody on our team has a job, and that job is to do, their respective roles as well as they can. And ultimately, if they're an energy giver, if they create a good routine, if they come to work every day, if they embrace the idea of growth, then we're all kind of having a catalytic effect on each other. And so whether that's Isaiah, Marcus, Al, Jaylen Brown, Demetrius Jackson, Jay Larinaga, go down the line. That's all of our jobs, is to add that little value towards helping each other achieve what we need to achieve.